Srimad Bhagvatam, Grantaraj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadasya Yato Nivayad Itaratas Chartesu Avigya Swarat. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adhikavaye Muyantiyat Surayaha. Tejo Varimidam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Misha. Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. O my Lord, Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations. And he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion. As one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen on fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Dharma pojita kaitravotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavamat vastu shivedam tapa trayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vaparir Ishvaraha Sadyur Hidi Avarutyate Tra Kriti Bihi Sususubhistakshanat. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for self-realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Nigama kalpatarur galitam phalam Sukhamukad amrita dravya samyutam Pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam Muhur aho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam. the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful. Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, verse or text 23. Savai ayam yat padam atrasurayo. Jitendriya nirjita matar ishvaraha. No. Jitendriya nirjita matar ishvana. Pasyanti bhakti utkalita malatmana. Nanve sa sattvam parimartristum arhati. Translation. Here is the same Supreme Personality Godhead, whose transcendental form is experienced by great devotees who are completely cleansed of material consciousness by dint of rigid devotional service and full control of life and the senses, and that is the only way to purify existence. As it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Let's see. As it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord can be known in his real nature by dint of pure devotional service only. So it is stated here that only the great devotees of the Lord who are able to clear the mind of all material dust by rigid devotional service can experience the Lord as he is. Jitendriya means one who has full control over the senses. The senses are active parts of the body, and their activities cannot be stopped. The artificial means of the yogic processes to make the senses inactive has proved to be abject failure, even in the case of great yogis like Vishwamrita Muni. Vishwamrita Muni controlled the senses by yogic trance, but when he happened to meet Menaka, a heavenly society girl, he became a victim of sex, and the artificial way of controlling the senses failed. But in the case of a pure devotee, the senses are not at all artificially stopped from doing anything, but they are given different good engagements. When the senses are engaged in more attractive activities, there is no chance of their being attracted by any inferior engagements. In the Bhagavad Gita it is said that the senses can be controlled only by better engagements. Devotional service necessitates purifying the senses or engaging them in the activities of devotional service. Devotional service is not inaction. Anything done in the service of the Lord becomes at once purified of its material nature. The material conception is due to ignorance only. There is nothing beyond Vasudeva. The Vasudeva conception gradually develops in the heart of the learned after a prolonged acceleration of the receptive organs. But the process ends in the knowledge of accepting Vasudeva as all in all. In the case of devotional service, this very same method is accepted from the very beginning, and by the grace of the Lord, all factual knowledge becomes revealed in the heart of a devotee due to dictation by the Lord from within. Therefore, controlling the senses by devotional service is the only and easiest means. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Here is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose transcendental form is experienced by the great devotees, who are completely cleansed of material consciousness by dint of rigid devotional service and full control of life and the senses, and that is the only way to purify existence. Okay, so this chapter is, one second, I just want to see who's speaking here. This is Sonaka Rishi who's speaking. Okay, so originally Vyasadeva spoke to Srimad Bhagvatam to his son, Sukadeva Goswami. Then Sukadeva Goswami spoke to Maharaj Parikshit. And during that time, Sutta Goswami was listening. And then Sutta Goswami spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam and Naimisharanya to assembled sages, and the chief sage was Sonaka Rishi. So, Sonaka Rishi begins this chapter by saying, after killing his enemies who desired to usurp his rightful inheritance, how did the greatest of all religious men, Maharaj Yudhisthira, assisted by his brothers, rule his subjects? Surely he could not freely enjoy his kingdom with unrestricted consciousness. So he's asking this question of Sutta Goswami. When Sutta Goswami is reciting Bhagavatam in Naimisharanya. And so therefore Sutta Goswami is speaking. And what does Sutta Goswami say? He is saying that here is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's saying, he's talking about Krishna. So Sutta Goswami says that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, now, previously, in the 9th chapter, Bhismadev says the same thing. Now, these people know because they were present when Krishna was present. These people actually know who Krishna is. So what does Bhismadev say? He says, he tells Maharaj Yudhisthira. So, Sutta Goswami is telling Sonaka Rishi and all the sages. Previously, Bhismadeva on the bed of arrows is instructing Maharaj Yudhisthira. What does it say? Lord Shri Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, yet he manifests his transcendental form by his internal potency. This very Lord was sitting before Bhismadeva, and since Bhismadeva knew of his glories, he worshipped him duly. And then, okay, now that's not Bhismadeva saying that. That's Sutta Goswami. But later on, he says, he tells Maharaj Yudhisthira, this Sri Krishna is no other than the inconceivable original personality of Godhead. He is the first Narayana, the supreme enjoyer, but he is moving amongst the descendants of King Vrishni, just like one of us, and he is bewildering us with his self-centered energy, self-created energy. So, Bhisma says it also. And Vyasadeva says, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So whenever it says Vasudevaya, with the first A very long, that means the son of Vasudeva. And whenever it's pronounced Vasudeva with the short A, that means the father of Krishna. Now, Vasudeva also refers to the first Chaturvyuha, which the first expansion is Balaram. And from Balaram comes the first Chaturvyuha, which is Vasudeva, Sankarsan, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. And then from that first Chaturvyuha comes Narayana, And then next comes the second Chaturvyuha, which is the source of all the Vishnu incarnations. Again, Vasudeva, Sankar's son, Aniruddha and Pradyumna. And then comes the Vishnu incarnations. And then from Kshirodakshaya Vishnu come all the incarnations of the Lord. There's 6 kinds of incarnations. So anyway, here, Sutta Goswami now is saying that here is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead whose transcendental form is experienced by the great devotees who are completely cleansed of material consciousness by dint of rigid devotional service and full control of life and the senses, and that is the only way to purify existence. Well, what is the way? We must have rigid devotional service and full control of life and the senses. So the only way you can do that is by strictly following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, which includes chanting minimum 16 good rounds a day. And there's no maximum. So it says here, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Now this is what I would call a tease by Srila Prabhupada. So as soon as it says, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, where is it stated? So, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord can be known in his real nature by dint of pure devotional service only. So, 11th chapter, 54th verse of Bhagavad Gita. That's why I say it's a tease. Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses, and Prabhupada is saying there's a verse that says that Krishna, it's only by engaging in devotional service to Krishna that one can know him. So, Bhaktya tvananyaya sakya aham evam vidurirjana gyatam drastam chatatvena pravestam cha parantapa. And this is 11th chapter, 54th verse, where it says, so what was the statement? That is, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord can be known in his real nature by dint of pure devotional service only. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. There it is, 1154. So this is a tease. Prabhupada's testing to see if we know Bhagavad Gita. He does this all the time. So it is stated here that only the great devotees of the Lord who are able to clear the mind of all material dust by rigid, notice the word rigid, it means unwavering, it means no vacation, that means no slipping, no mistakes. It's got to be rigid. Same thing every day. Mangal Arati and Tulsi Arati and Guru Puja and darshan of the deities and bowing down, all these things. That's what it means, rigid. See, unwavering. You can't. There's no. Well, today I'll just sleep in and enjoy my bed, my warm bed. No, there's nothing like that. As soon as you wake up, you have to jump up right away. Shake off your sleepiness, and because there's so many duties that we have. We have to chant our rounds, we have to take a bath, we have to chant our rounds, we have to put on clean clothes, we have to be on time for Mangal Arati. So those people who are doing this rigidly, what happens? You can clear the mind. Cheto darpanam marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam sherak kairavi chandrika vitaranam vidyavadu jivanam. That's this clearing of the mind, that the dust on the mirror of the mind, so that we can, are able to clear the mind of all material dust by rigid devotional service, can experience the Lord as he is. So this is Bhagavad Gita as it is. So if we can clear the mind of all the dust accumulated for many lifetimes of doing nonsense. And Prabhupada says, you already did nonsense so many lifetimes. Just use this one lifetime to go back to Godhead, right? You were having sex in a tree, like a bird. You were having sex in the ocean, like an aquatic. you were having sex under the earth like worms. So you already had sex in all these different places and different bodies. So in this one lifetime, just give it up and follow rigidly Krishna consciousness, right? The only thing holding us back, see, we didn't come to this world to smoke marijuana or drink alcohol. That's not the reason we came. We didn't come to this world to gamble and speculate. Those things are not that, attractive. And we didn't come to this world to eat meat. Meat is dead flesh. I mean, who wants to eat meat? But we did come to this world to engage in sex. That's why. So that is the biggest, that's the one thing that can stop a person immediately from being Krishna conscious. Let's say someone's having sex, and you go up to him and say, Prabhu, would you like to come to the Bhagavad Gita class? Say, get the hell out of here. Don't bother me. I'm doing something really important right now. You see? That's the one thing that destroys Krishna consciousness almost immediately. So therefore, when we know what the worst thing is that we can do that can virtually destroy Krishna consciousness right away, then that's the one thing we should avoid. Right? Except to have children and to raise them properly. So now we know what the main thing is. Kama esa krodha esa raja guna samudbhavan. Mahapapma mahasano vidi iham vairinam. Vairinam means the enemy. What is the enemy? It's kama esa krodha esa. It's sense gratification and anger after frustration. This is the big enemy. It's vairinam. In fact, this is a word in the Armenian language also. In the Armenian language, we say vairini. Vairini means enemy. A wild, crazy, lusty, nasty enemy. It comes from Sanskrit. Armenian has at least 1,200 root words from Sanskrit. Not only Armenian. I mean, obviously, Parsi, the Farsi language also has a huge number of Sanskrit words in it, root words. And Armenian is derived from Farsi or Persian language and Greek. And Greek also has a lot of root words from Sanskrit, because the Iranians are, the Greeks are Malechas, Iranians are Yavanas. Right, enemies of the Vedic literature. And the Malechas are people who followed the Vedic literature but stopped. So, people talk about the Aryan invasion of India. That's nonsense. There's no proof of that at all. But there is plenty of proof that there were races of people that came from Bharat to Iran and to Greece and Mongolia and places like that. So they're the sons of Yayati. Yayati had 5 sons. So one is the father of the Iranians, one is the father of the Kurus, another is the father of the Yadus, and then is the father of the Mongolians and Chinese, and then his father of the Greeks. He has 5 sons. And then the Turks, I forgot the Turks. So Turvasu, if I'm not mistaken, was the father of the Turks. So here we have all this Vedic history of the real world, and then you'll see that all the speculators, they go the opposite way. They said, oh, Krishna was an obscure rural deity of the Aryans who invaded North India and pushed the Tamilians to the south. The whole thing is nonsense. It was made up by Max Mueller and other so-called Vedic experts that came from Germany and England, and they wanted to subordinate the Vedic timeline to the Bible. The Vedic timeline goes back hundreds and millions of years, right? And the Bible goes back 5,000 years. So to subjugate the Vedic timeline to the Bible, they've manufactured this Aryan invasion. Is this right? Probably you know about this. Is it right? You want to add something to it? Okay. So you see, there's so much misinformation in this world. And to get through all that misinformation requires years and years of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam to get deprogrammed. We have to get deprogrammed from that nonsense. Right? Okay, so here it says, so it is stated here that only the great devotees of the Lord who are able to clear the mind of all material dust by rigid devotional service can experience the Lord as He is. Jitendriya means one who has full control over the senses. Well, that's another verse from Bhagavad Gita. In the 6th chapter, it says, 6th chapter, 7th verse, I think. Yeah. Jitamana prasantasya paramatma samahita sitosna sukadukesu tata manapamanayo. For one who has conquered the mind, the supersoul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. And then, so the next verse, 8, says, Jnana vijnana triptatma kutasto vijitendriya. There it is, jitendriya. That it says, a person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. So what is Vijita Indriya? Means sensually controlled. Vijita Indriya. So Jitendriya means someone who is self-controlled. He has control of his mind and senses. Jitendriya means one who has full control over the senses. So that's Bhagavad Gita 6.8. So this is like a puzzle. You read his purports and then you can try and figure out where it comes from. And it does come from Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the summary and basics of spiritual life. It's the undergraduate study. But everything is in the Bhagavad Gita. And then it's expanded, like you can see right now, it's being expanded in the Srimad Bhagvatam. So Srimad Bhagvatam is the graduate study. And then Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, is the postgraduate study. And actually, Nectar of Devotion is postgraduate study, because there's these 5 levels of let's say, consciousness. So the highest, the 4th dimension, there's 5 levels of let's say, dimensions. The 4th dimension is Turiya, where the 3rd dimension is length, width, and breadth. So we live in 3 dimensions right now. Right? The 4th dimension, the length, width, and breadth, becomes expanded infinitely. That's called Turiya. And then the 5th dimension is Turiya, where love is expanded infinitely. That's why nobody gets bored in Goloka or Vaikuntha. But people get bored in Brahman. The Brahman is the beginning of Turiya, of infinite length, width, and breadth. But there's no sustained Ananda. Anandamaya Vyasat. Sustained Ananda is only when you reach Vaikuntha or, of course, Goloka Vrindavan. In Vaikuntha, the love is formalized, ritualized. Right? But when you go to Goloka, it's not ritualized or formalized anymore. It's intimate. That's where you can only experience this Turiya, infinite love, in the Goloka Vrindavan. In Vaikuntha, you experience love, definitely. It's there. But it's not intimate like Goloka. You don't see Narayana subordinating himself to his devotees. But in Goloka, Krishna is always subordinating himself to his devotees. And that's something that is incomprehensible. Even for the Sri Vaishnavas, it's incomprehensible. They don't understand it. It's not a criticism of them, because Vaikuntha is the spiritual world. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a preference. So here, in order to get there, we have to be engaged in rigid devotional service. And that means following all the rules and regulations. Once you get to Goloka, the rules and regulations are not there anymore. Right? But it doesn't mean we're engaging in sinful life. There's so much love for Krishna that sometimes they forget about the rules and regulations because of their extreme love. And that's also in the Sri Vaishnava tradition, but they don't understand it. When Andal or Goda Devi, she's making garlands for Ranganath. Ranganath, by the way, does not have 4 arms. Did you know that? He only has 2 arms, because actually it's a deity of Lord Ramachandra. Did you know that? Yeah. I mean, people think he's a Vishnu form. He's not a Vishnu form. Huh? Yeah. It doesn't look like Ramchandra because he's laying down, right? But that deity was given by Ramchandra to Vibhishan so that he would not feel separation from him by leaving Ayodhya and going to Lanka to rule. But on his way to Lanka, Ranganath told him, I want to stay here a little bit in Srirangam. So Vibhishan, descended at Srirangam, and after being worshipped by the Brahmins there, he said, I want to stay here, but you go to Sri Lanka, but for your special mercy, I will always be facing south, because deities always have to face east, right? So he said, I will always be facing toward you and giving you my mercy. So then Vibhishan agreed to go alone to Sri Lanka and assume the kingship of Lanka. So there are a lot of amazing things about Srirangam. It's a very special place. Very special place. Okay. Huh? So Andal was making garlands for Ranganath, and she would put them on and make sure it was the right size and everything. You're not allowed to do that, right? And her father saw that. He got really upset, And he said, this is nonsense what you're doing, Throw that garland away. Make another one for me, for the Lord. Don't ever do that again. So she does that. She throws it away. She's very reluctant to do it. And she gives him a new one, and he takes it. And when he tries to put it on Ranganath, he refuses the garland. He said, I don't want this garland. I said, I want that garland that was thrown away. So, the deity actually talked to the father. He said, I don't want this. So he had to go back, and he told her, find where that garland is. And then she threw it in the trash. And she brought it back and gave it to him. And then they realized who she is. She's not an ordinary girl. And she was not more than maybe 12 or 13 years old at the time. And before that, she had written all these amazing poems, like the Tirupavai and other things. And so the Sri Vaishnavas, they recite those prayers of Andal almost every day, especially in the month of Margaza or December, January. So there's an example of and her Tirupavai is all about her going to Vrindavan, meeting the gopis, being trained by the gopis so that she could meet Radha and Krishna. Did you know that? Yeah, very, very few of the devotees know about that. Huh? Andal or Goda Devi. Yeah. She got trained by that, and she actually met Radha and Krishna. course, the Shiva Vaishnavas, they don't talk about this. I mean, they recite the prayers, the 30 prayers of the Tirupava, but they don't really understand what's going on in it. Anyway, that's another story. Okay, so here is Jitendriya. And so now I want to stop because it's taking a long time. We'll continue with this purport tomorrow. It's very, very interesting. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Buddhaya. Yeah, when I found out that Ranganath only has 2 arms, I was shocked. I was convinced he was a Vishnu deity. What? Well, when I went to Srirangam, I knew about it a little bit before I went, but I was shocked. Huh? They're in what form? That particular deity is 2 arms. Doesn't have 4 arms. You have Padmanabham, you have Balaji, they all have 4 arms, right? Amazing. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah. Oh, the one just read?
Yeah. So it ends at 31. It's like a series of start from a few verses ago.
Oh, yeah.
And then at 31 it actually concludes with.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, the world was departing from the palace of us, didn't pour so, okay, absurdness, yeah, that's right, yeah. But this whole thing is recited, though, by Sutta Goswami, isn't it?
Yeah, he recites it. So in 31 it says, not speaking.
Huh?
In 31. While the ladies were speaking out.
Yeah, okay. Oh, wait a minute, let's see here. So here, the children of these ladies are predominant.
They are praising the Dwarka.
Okay, here it says they began to talk, right?
Like even in 21, in the translation, Prabhupada added a word that they said.
Yeah.
I think they were talking about.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Sutta Goswami is narrating it, but those things were spoken by the ladies. But they're not narrating it. He's actually speaking the whole thing.
Okay.